this Reading Saturday morning. Always a pleasure to present a bazaar to all our viewers, and always a pleasure to discover newer and newer ways of introducing books to for readers of all ages. This time round, we have this interesting category of books called concept books. Now, what are they? What are these concept books? In the conventional sense of the word, they are books that introduce basic concepts to children, right? Books of the, books that introduce the alphabets, the numbers, counting, colors, shapes, just a whole host of basic concepts that make kids familiar with the world, that introduce children to the world around them, right? What they see or read in these books can be reinforced by looking at the world around them. And I think they are great ways. The concept books are just a great way to get kids to explore their world. Now, what happens with concept books is that they are just the best building blocks of early literacy. We all know, we've said this over and over and over again, that reading really early to your children is the best way to get them to become eager and happy readers for life. And people have read to children, even to their children, even before they are born. That's how early many people begin. And the key to good childhood literacy and childhood learning is to start very early. Now, what happens is that we have, of course, in the course of our bazaars, done books. We have a category called beginner books. We have a category called board books. We've done so many bazaars across 2 years that we have this category on. If you go to www.funkyrainbow.com, click on the tab that says book bazaars, and there are 4 or 5 seasons in the drop down menu. You will be able to pick, look at the various themes we've covered. So we do have a theme called board books, where we featured a whole lot of board books meant for young readers and readers a little older than those young readers. But we also have a category called beginner books, where we have many of these basic concept books. Books of the alphabet, books of numbers, books of colors, books on shapes and sizes. But these are basic introductory books. What we have today when we say concept books, and of course those beginner books are also concept books basically, but what we have today is, what happens when your child has started reading and is now a little eager to go further, to go a little further. There are books, and these, our concept book bazaar focuses on books. It's not like we don't have books of the alphabet here. It's not like we don't have books on numbers here, but it's at a slightly more advanced level. And we believe that these concept books, they play such a big role in young readers' early literary experiences. They bridge they help shape the children's vocabulary and language. They because the information that's been presented in those books is so simple, it's so concrete. What happens is, it's easy to create a bridge between the real world that the child sees around her and what they are seeing in these books. Good morning, Muttama. What a pleasure to see have you join us from Purna Learning Center. It's been really weeks and weeks since you have been at a bazaar here with us. But what is a fabulous feeling is that you are popping up with our books in so many schools across the city, and even across the country, that we are absolutely delighted that these books are finding readers here, there, everywhere. And our dream, which we've discussed over and over and over again, and which we're going to see if we can make a reality, in 2023 is to actually do a bazaar from these pop-ups. We are working on it, and we're going to see how we can pull that off. You're saying that Netra and you are absolutely enjoying the buzz at Purna Learning Center, and hope you're going to enjoy the buzz of the bazaar as well. So to come back, concept books, like I was saying, mm, what they tend to do is to make what they do essentially is to make learning fun for young kids. And we have all kinds, and I mean, these books, they make your children maybe chuckle with laughter, they look at the pages with awe, or just be so deeply absorbed in them that the learning just happens serendipitously. And that's why we say that these are the best ways to begin a child's reading journey. I mean, and there are different kinds of concept books. Like I say, there are alphabet books, books of numbers and counting. There are books on shapes. There are books on colors. There are books on slightly higher concepts like sizes and, what is opposites, one, heavier than the other. What is the opposite of something heavy, something light? There's just so many, many wondrous books that exist in this space. And if you make a start with these, and of course there are wordless books as well, right? I mean, which are explaining some marvelous concepts. If you make the right start for your readers, I mean, for the children in your life, if you pick the right books, they get absolutely the right reading start. The reason, of course, that we're doing concept books is because we had a new publisher come onto our shelves possibly a month ago, and this is purely, almost entirely the first time that we brought these books in, because we'd been reading about them, we'd been looking at the copies of the books. The publisher, Curious Concepts, who bring out these fantastic books called featuring twins, a pair of twins called Zen and Zoe, which are slightly advanced concept books, came onto our shelves a month ago. And I mean this, literally in a month. They had, they sent us a catalog of 48 titles in 1.5 months. I mean, I'm assuming it's no more than that. Those books have just absolutely gone off our shelves. I mean, so this bazaar is entirely prompted by the fact that we were, when we have a publisher in an independent children's bookshop, it takes a bit of time to introduce these books to our audiences, to the parents, the teachers, and the librarians who are engaging with us. It takes a bit of time to tell them about these books. We take them to different pop-ups, like Muttama is at Purna Learning Center at the moment, and slowly get our audiences to know and understand these books. These ones, even before we kind of had them and took them into a couple of pop-ups, they just absolutely flew off our shelves. And I can't tell you how delighted we are that an independent publisher's books have just gone off completely. And that's exactly why this bazaar was prompted on concept books, because the wonderful Zen and Zoe books and their founder, Yuti Zaveri, will join us later in the show to talk about what makes her concept book so special. These are slightly higher concept books. I mean, a little bit higher, introducing kids to the world around them, to various places that they can visit, to various aspects that make up the world that we live in. And that's precisely what has prompted this bazaar. So we do, send a big cheer out to independent publishers, who are creating newer and more wonderful books for our readers. David Williams, what a pleasure that you've joined us all the way from Australia. You say, oh wow, I actually caught an opening monologue. These concept books must, need to be illustrated well to draw and hold a little kid's attention. Absolutely. I remember loving my little golden books about the earth, the age of dinosaurs, the solar system. Or were those ones too advanced to be called concept books? No, not really. In fact, I started off saying just that. I mean, there are the basic concept books, which are the alphabets and the numbers and counting and shapes and colors. But what when your child is a little bit more ready to discover her world? You need these wonderful concept books, and you've hit the nail on the head. These books have to be very nicely illustrated, simply illustrated, but absolutely engaging a child's attention. We will, of course, we're starting with some simpler concept books in the course of our recommendations, and then we'll move up to the ones to the slightly more layered and textured and nuanced ones, concepts of meant for children of various ages. We'd say starting from 0 years going up to 7 years for sure. My first set of recommendations this morning is this wonderful set of books which we absolutely love at Funky Rainbow, two wordless ones called A Visit to the City Market and A Visit to the Zoo. What delightful little books they are. This one, A Visit to the City Market by Manjula Padmanabhan, one of our absolute favorite books, where a pair of siblings trot off to the market with their mother. And no words, but just look to see how many little things you can spot on the pages. You can ask your child to spot on the pages, and how many little things they are going to discover in terms of concepts. And these are, like I said, this is not just a single layered concept book. I mean, on these pages, well, there's a post box. There are different kinds of fruits and vegetables. Somebody's bag of vegetables is broken. There are just multiple little concepts that you can demonstrate to a child, or you can let a child observe from these pages. And Manjula Padmanabhan always doing a fine job of keeping a child's attention engaged so wonderfully to the pages. We'd say, of course, wordless picture book meant absolutely for the youngest readers, right from the time that they are born, really. And of course, as a complementary pair, A Visit to the Zoo by Sanat Surti. Again, a delightful book about heading off to the zoo and the animals. And this time, there's again, a brother and sister, or I mean, I assume that they're brother and sister, but the reader can just infuse any meaning they want to the pages. And this time with their father or their uncle, whoever you choose for that relative to be. And visiting the zoo and look at the illustrations. How many things? What is that boy wearing? Is it matching the zebra's colors? What is the girl wearing? And does that match the giraffe spots? Such beautiful concept books for our youngest readers. A Visit to the City Market and A Visit to the Zoo, both published by NBT. We'll move to our next set of recommendations, and that one is this lovely alphabet and number book pair. And this alphabet book, ever since it kind of came into our collection, I haven't been able to take my eyes off this one. Paper Peak Alphabet by Chihiro Takeuchi. Just look at this marvelous alphabet book. Now, why is it a slightly higher than a basic alphabet book? Because there's a world of discovery and delight on every page of this search and find book, really. I mean, it's not just about identifying the letters of the alphabet. So, to answer your question, David, this is absolutely the kind of book that an older young reader can engage with very well. So can you see on this page, and you can see these fantastic cutouts, and we know how hard it is to create these cutouts. So there says, can you find one armadillo, three camels, four alligators, two bicycles, and five bananas? So what are you doing? Are there the letters of alphabets in this? Are there numbers to spot? And look at the colorful collage from which you need to, in which you need to find each of these things. Just a beautiful, beautiful book. I'm going to show you DEF simply because I love that cutout so much. Look at the cutout of DEF and what can you find inside? One earth, two eggs, three dolphins, four fish, five dragonflies. And you can see when you turn the pages, DEF in capital letters, DEF in small letters. This book is such a delight, really, in every way. And there's just so many beautiful things to discover on its pages. So, not just an A for apple, B for ball, C for cat kind of book, one more layer in it, or multiple layers actually in it. In a similar vein, and matching an alphabet book or pairing an alphabet book with a number book, is this excellent one called Incredible Insects, a counting book by Sheena Devaya. We just love this book because while it's about numbers, it's also about the amazing bugs that are in and around us, the amazing world of insects absolutely waiting to be discovered through this fantastic counting book by Sheena Devaya. Now you can see one grasshopper, two butterflies. Of course, it's counting. Of course, you're looking at one grasshopper and two butterflies. Of course, on page three, you're looking at three leaf insects and four dragonflies. But just think how well you can introduce kids to all these creepy crawlies around you, and several of these can just be spotted out of your window, or just go into the garden space and you can see so many of these insects right there. A great way to reinforce the belief about a great way to reinforce the natural, the creatures, great and small, that inhabit our natural world, while learning a spot of counting as well. Two wonderful, wonderful books, alphabet and counting books. And like I have been saying all through, just books that are so layered, so nuanced, and give your children multiple concepts within the same book. I will, of course, move on to colors. And of course, I'm glad Shams put up the poster to the bazaar up here, because, like I said, this entire bazaar absolutely, motivated by the Zen and Zoe books, a pair of twins who go exploring the world around them, discovering all sorts of things, discovering the solar system, discovering what a rainforest is like, even visiting a chocolate factory to see how chocolate is being made. It is just an absolutely incredible set of books. And where they introduce various concepts through stories, and that's precisely what has prompted this bazaar. Yuti Zaveri, the founder of the Zen and Zoe books of Curious Concepts, as their company is called, their publishing company is called, will join us later in the show in half hour's time. My next set of books is, of course, about colors. And like I say, such wonderful, wonderful books on the concept of colors existing right in the wonderful Indian publishing ecosystem. Here's one that I utterly love, again a wordless book called Bow Meow Wow by Priya Kurian. Just love this hilarious encounter between a cat and a dog. And how is this hilarious encounter between this cat and a dog all about colors? You've just got to flip the pages and find out. So look at that, look at the sounds. So there's a bow there, and then you can see that that container gets tilted and there's yellow paint that spills all over. And what is this wonderful dog doing? And where does the meow come in? And why is this book on colors? You've just got to pick up. I think readers of all ages, newborns to, absolutely 100-year-olds will just chuckle over this wonderful action packed book about colors. So, again, like I say, it's not a book that's just saying, well, this is yellow and that is red and that is pink and that is green. There's a lovely little story in there that makes the learning just so much fun, makes the learning absolutely serendipitous, which is exactly what good concept books must do. Another one on colors that we utterly and absolutely love, is an old book from Ekalavya called Three Kittens by V Suteyev. Now the thing about this is I'm showing you the big book format of this book. I mean, they have one even in the smaller format, I mean, in the sense that they have it as a small size book like this, but you should just enjoy and like marvel in this big one, which is the story of three kittens. And you can see the text is suitably large. I mean, our youngest readers can engage with it. It's perfect to show in the classroom or at a reading club or or a book club or a library, because big books are particularly relevant and useful, and in these shared spaces, in these learning spaces where there are many, many children, and of course, one on one too. Now, the thing about this is it's the story of three kittens, one black one, one gray one, and one white one. And what happens? What do the three kittens do? Well, just like any bunch of kittens, they dash off after a mouse. Now, what happens? The mouse jumps into a bin of flour, and you can see that the mouse jumping into the bin of flour. And what happens next? Immediately after, well, the kittens go right in, but the mouse just utterly runs away. The mouse gets out and runs away just as the kittens jump in. And then I love what happens. One black, one gray, and one white kitten then become three white kittens. What a beautiful book about colors, set in the midst of a really funny story. I mean, this is certainly a chuckle inducing, laugh inducing story for young readers, which reinforces the concept of colors. Of course, you're going to know that these kittens get up to many, many more adventures, and all those adventures, of course, linked to colors. It's a fantastic book. Again, something that we will recommend to. Yes, Sain Sham reminds me that, he remembers this one right from his own childhood, which is how long this book has been in print. Like I said, it used to be available as a small size book, but they've done the big book edition, more recently, I think in the last 2 or 3 years, perhaps. But a great, fantastic book to explain colors and concepts to our younger readers. And while we are on the theme of colors, especially because we utterly love colors, there's colors right up in our name, Funky Rainbow. I have two more books on colors that I want to recommend, which are fairly recent ones in Funky Rainbow's catalog. There's this, and again, just to reinforce the concept, these are books about colors, but they're not just books that point out saying this is red, this is white, and here are like five things that are red. Here's a red apple, here's a red frock, here's a red bus. That's not how all the concept books here are. They are slightly more advanced concept books for when your child is ready to explore a little bit more. Of course, I've introduced basic concept, wordless books as well, and wordless books work really well with our youngest readers. But these ones can be used across the years. The child is seeing something at a particular age, when maybe when they're 4, they're looking at something else as well. And I want to say that we have books in multiple categories. We have them, we have an entire bazaar that was devoted to board books. We have another one that's devoted to beginner readers, where there are many, many of the simpler concept books. And this one, which is also concept, which is entirely full of concept books, more books with a little bit more for the eager reader or learner. So this one, the next set of color books, and I know we're being partial by doing 4 color books in the course of this, recommendation, but we just love Kenato Jimo's work, writing and illustration. Of course, no writing. I mean, there is a wee bit of writing in I Love Grey. Just this beautiful book about a little boy called Tokato who loves all colors. But which color does he love the most of all? Well, you discover that in the course of this excellent book, because he says I love gray, and you see this big gray cloud, with some raindrops coming out of it. And then goes on to say I love gray with a dash of pink, and you can see who has the pink on him. Kenato Jimo, really, really one of our most talented and brilliant art directors and illustrators. And I love the way, there are multiple layers in the book. I mean, there is the color, of course, but there's the boy wearing pink as well, trying to break free of various gender stereotypes. Pink is for girls, blue is for boys. Who says? I mean, all colors are for everyone, absolutely. So, this book introducing you to colors, move on to I Love White, but you have to find out what Tokato's favorite color is, because this is such a charming little picture book that will help you discover just that and many colors along the way. And of course, at a higher level, a book that celebrates the colors of India. We just loved this one when it came onto our shelves, called Many Colors of Us. I just love the title itself in the first place, by Lavanya Kapahi and with illustrations by Mansi Dwivedi. This excellent color book, which is about a baby bird who wonders what color she can be. And she and her feathered friends go from one color to the other, believing that that one is the best. So you can see the three little birds over here hopping from one thing to the other, to declare that each one of the colors that they discover going forward are are perhaps the best ones, and what makes them the best ones. Now, what is the lovely concept in this book? Well, how are the colors described? And that's what we love so much about the book, is that now orange like me, says one feathered bird. And what are the descriptions of the orange that we have on these pages? Orange like Gujarat's favorite marigold flowers, orange like the Bengal tiger, fiercely bold. Orange like the Nagpur mandarins, or the Nagpur oranges, with its bright, smooth, and shiny skin. We love this description of India through colors. And I think it's a perfect book for 4+ year olds, and perfect match for Funky Rainbow, who has all colors of the rainbow in our name. So, you discover the pink Kutch flamingos, you'll discover the purple Naga chilies, you will, discover the black of the Bhadra panthers, and the white of the Himalayan snow, through this excellent book on colors, but which also takes you on a lovely whistle stop tour of India and the various colorful delights that the country has to offer. David, if you're watching, this one is certainly a must read for you. It's India encapsulated in a picture book, and India in its colorful glory encapsulated in a marvelous picture book. So you can see why we've been partial to colors like this, simply because there are just these fabulous books in our collection that we wanted to showcase. From colors, we of course have to move to sounds, and I'm going to keep a watch over the time, because our guest will join us a little later in the show. I do have another 15 minutes, before she comes in. So I'll recommend a clutch of more concept books before we invite Yuti Zaveri of the Zen and Zui books to join us to talk about what makes her concept books so much fun. So, of course, I'm going to recommend, move on to sounds. And these two books on sounds that I am, going to recommend here. Okay, I can see David saying, "Oh, I'm watching indeed, Vidya, just sitting speechless like a child, taking it all in." Best way to do this, David. And we really hope one day you can be here in the midst of all these exciting books, so you can actually be speechless looking at the books rather than hearing me talk about them. So to sounds, and I know we launched these lovely Zubu books many moons ago at Funky Rainbow. Lovely board books that can be customized to readers, for instance. And, for instance, if you want your child's name to be on the books, then Zoomin, the company that creates them, will put your child's name. So we chose Mutama's daughter's name on this book and said, Tamanna, is your cat in the zoo? Now, what is this story about? Why is it a sound book? Well, Tamanna's little cat, Tuffy, was lost, and she is looking for Tuffy here, there, everywhere. Now, what happens? She says, well, I'm going to go to the zoo to look for Tuffy. And of course, off she goes with her mother to the zoo. And what does she see first? She sees the elephant. And what's happening? Elephant, elephant, big and gray. Have you seen my cat today? He is black and white with eyes so bright. Tell me, did he come this way? And why is this a lovely concept book? Because there's a description of the elephant as a big and gray elephant, and you can see on the other page the elephant as well, and the sound that the elephant makes. And what does the elephant say? Elephant waved his trunk and trumpeted. We have an emu and a kangaroo. David, look at that. We have an emu and a kangaroo, but no pet cats in this zoo. And then she goes off. Lion, lion with a shaggy mane. Have you seen my cat today? His name is Tuffy. He's cute and fluffy. Tell me, did he come this way? There's wonderful rhyme as well. And you can see there's a description of the lion. There's the sound that the lion makes. There's verse there's repetitive verse right through the book, making it a perfect concept book for our youngest readers to discover different animals, the way they look, and the sounds they make. And exactly in keeping with that, book of sounds, a similar one from a lovely publisher on our shelves, Jyotsna Prakashan. And I know many of you watching have discovered several of the Jyotsna Prakashan books through us. This series called My World, and there are multiple books in that series. I think I'm not sure Sham has the covers of all of them up, but the one that I'm recommending, he'll certainly put up. But do check out the My World books. There are, I think, 4 or 5 of them, if I'm not mistaken. This one is called The World of Sounds by Rama Hardikar Sakhdev. Now, what is this? What is the story about? Again, the different sounds that animals make. A young boy, Ravi, and this set of books, perfect for preschoolers, actually, who are keen to, who begin to observe the world around them. And if for them to understand the different colors, the sounds, the sights, the animals and birds who share the earth with us, trees, flowers, day, night. I mean, the different books in the series exploring various concepts. So this one about sounds, and what is Ravi doing? He's looking at the birds chirping. He's looking at the wind chime going ting, ting, ting. What happens when he, has a bath? Such a perfect book to introduce different sounds that you can reinforce this when you're reading the book, and when the water tap, and if your child is reading it and is going to have a bath, you can ask them to tell you what are the sounds that they are hearing. Several sound books in our collection, but we thought we'd introduce Tamanna is Your Cat in the Zoo and The World of Sounds, for our youngest readers, as part of our concept book collection. We move on. I mean, as you can see, lots of boards below, lots of board books that have come up in the course of our recommendations. Now these books will be available in the board book bazaar as well. So www.funkyrainbow.com, click on the tab that says book bazaar, and there will be a drop down menu: season 1, season 2, season 3. Click on the seasons, look at the themes, and there's one that's entirely devoted to board books. You can find all these board books there. You can also find the ones that we've chosen for the concept books bazaar in the concept tag as well. And the next one that we absolutely delight in at Funky Rainbow is this excellent series by Suvi Naidu, written by Suvi Naidu and with pictures by Nizara Verulkar, featuring a little cub. And what I utterly love about the book is its wonderful concepts for young readers. And and little cub is up to all kinds of adventures in the park, on the road, by day, by night. But the series that I have picked over here at the moment is Little Cub Says Hello, Little Cub Says Bye Bye, Little Cub Says Sorry, and Little Cub Says Thank You. You can see the covers coming up right in front of you. I love this Little Cub series because in Little Cub Says Hello, and we have to investigate a bit to find out who Suvi Naidu is. I mean, there are these delightful books, but we haven't ever had managed to chat or exchange mails with the writer. Going to set that right very, very soon, because we absolutely love the books that they have created, that she has created. Now, in Little Cub Says Hello, there's Little Cub going on a walk with Mama Tiger, and hello, he says to Priya in English, right? And then what happens? He continues on his walk and he says Namaste to Mukesh in Hindi. And then he goes on. Adab, he says to Firoz in Urdu. What a beautiful way to learn how to greet people in a polite way in different languages from across the country. And it's so important, India's diversity in languages. I mean, it's so important for us to introduce our youngest readers to this wonderful diversity that exists in languages. And this is such a great way to learn to say hello. And then Sham, you can show them the covers of the other books as well. You can say bye bye, you can say thank you, and you can say sorry in just different ways. What a great way it is to introduce kids to the fact that we have so many different languages, and you can see such a good way to introduce them to the names of people from different groups, from different religious backgrounds, from different cultural backgrounds. It's just an excellent a book on what it how India has so many ways to greet people, and the different languages in which we do it. David saying, haha, emu and kangaroo do rhyme with zoo, but they really need more space than a zoo provides. At the very least, you'll need very high fences. Absolutely, David. I mean, realistic to the extent, but still letting the imagination take flight. Don't know whether the emu is taking flight or not, but certainly imagination taking flight with these books that we have introduced. So this set, it's a must read. Little Cub Says Hello, Little Cub Says Bye Bye, Little Cub Says thank you, and Little Cub Says Sorry. A wonderful way to introduce these concepts to our youngest readers. I'm just going to do two sets of recommendations, before we say hello to our guest of the day. Of course, the human body, my body, such an important concept to introduce to children, right? I mean, they can see their hands. We tell them this is your nose, and these are your ears, and these are your eyes. And hence books that focus on the human body, very, very interesting for our youngest readers. And the one that I absolutely do want to recommend is this one called Listen to Your Body. I mean, Listen to My Body. which is, of course, the body of the protagonist, written by Rohini Nilekani and illustrated by Angie and Upesh. The reason that this book is really special to me, for introducing the human body to our youngest readers, is that Sham's son, Aaron, just loved the book when he was maybe 2.5 or 3. He would be waiting to the sounds, to for me to sort of describe the sounds of the body. And you know how the book begins? It begins with a young girl saying, "Today I'm not going to school," which is always a great start for a book for young readers. And it's a holiday. And today she says, "I'm not going to watch TV because there's no electricity anyway. So I'm not going to be able to watch TV, of course. So what am I going to do? I'm going to listen to my body." And you can see, there's a little character that makes an appearance in many pages. And the character is wondering, can one really listen to a body? I mean, how does one listen to one's body? First, you have to be really quiet so that I can listen, and then I can hear my breath go in and out. What a fantastic way to introduce kids to the body and to the sounds that the body makes. And these were the sounds, when I'd read them out to Aaron, and you do in and out, he would do exactly the same thing himself. In fact, he'll be waiting for that part to come so he can breathe in and breathe out and show me that his body is making those sounds too. It's just such a lovely, lovely little book for our youngest readers on the body. And we have one for slightly older readers. So, we're not limiting our concept books only to kids who are 2 and 3. While that's the basic definition of a concept book, we do have ones that are meant for older kids, and the Zen and Zui ones too. We would say definitely 4+. So kids who are familiar with certain concepts get a little bit more when they're curious and eager to learn more, have a bit more from these advanced concept books. So this Your Body Is Yours, written by Yamini Vijayan and illustrated by Oindri Chakrabarti, is a beautiful book because it tells you your body is unique and it belongs only to you. You need to know how to take care of it. And it's a fantastic book, we'd say, for 5+ readers, or maybe even 6+ readers, to open healthy conversations about our bodies. And Yamini making a wonderful point all through the book, about about people learning to respect boundaries, and we have a right to say no when we are uncomfortable with anyone coming close to us or touching our bodies in any way that makes us even remotely uncomfortable. And what I like about the book is the body parts are not named, some sort of imaginary names. They are actually named exactly like our body is. So this is definitely a book for older readers, but in these times, so important to have the conversation on the body and the various parts of the body, and why your body is yours entirely. I mean, so 2 books on the body that absolutely, meant for 2 different age groups and introducing them in very, very different ways. Very, very quickly, before we say, welcome our guest, one set of recommendations of books, because we're talking about things in connection with the body. I mean, this set of books, one which focuses on what makes something big, what makes something small, what makes something middling, so sizing things up, written by Aparna Kapoor and illustrated by Debjyoti Saha, is a lovely little book where, and I love the way it's designed. The world is full of creatures and things, it says, some big, some are big, some are small, most are somewhere in the middle. So setting the perspective for what it takes to size things up, really. It may be a small book, but it definitely has a big, big message. So in the very next page, and I love the way the illustrator or the designer has played with typography. These are some of the biggest things we know. Now the child really has to look What makes the elephant amongst one of the biggest things we know? What is this tower? What is this building? Is it the Burj Khalifa? What is that? Is it the Empire State Building? Your guess, as good as mine. What about the giraffe? What a great way to show you what some of the biggest things we know are. And of course, then we say that there are some of the smallest things we know. And look at how the child is observing some of the smallest things we know. It's a great book, to get the concept of size into a slightly older reader's head. Again, we'd say 5 plus. I mean, they've become familiar with maybe opposites, or they see big things and small things around them. This one making the concept of big, small, and middling, quite clear via a lovely book. And in this one, as a complementary one to this one, to sizing things up, there's this title called Twice as Tall, written by Rakesh Khanna and illustrated by Gemma Jose. What I love, and I think children will love this, Muthu Lakshmi, the character, the protagonist of the book, Muthu Lakshmi P, is growing very, very tall. Nobody can tell how tall she will be when she's all grown up. Will her height double? And will it double once and then double again? This is certainly a book for older readers. Like, right, you can see how Muthulakshmi's height is getting measured by a height chart. And then, of course, she's wondering, in a while, in a couple of years, will she become twice as tall? And after that, and of course, she's talking in connection with her family. She says, I'm taller than if I became twice as tall, I'd be taller than the nurse who's checking my height. I'd be taller than Suresh Mama, who's the tallest person in my family, and so on and so forth, to understand what it means to be, to become twice as tall. And what I love in the book is this lovely height chart that they have. And you can see, I mean, I'm not sure I'm doing the best job of showing you that height chart, but there is actually a height chart, and with measurements. And then, of course, with Muthulakshmi's measurements, taller than Suresh Mama, taller than somebody else in her family. I think kids will just love this tactile part of the book very, very much. And all kids wondering what their height is, and how they're going to, are they going to become twice as tall as they already are. Lovely, lovely little books that explain to you, slightly more advanced concepts, in terms of size, in terms of height, and we have many such books in our collection, where we have, fraction counting, we have sorting, we have, for instance, when you're looking at a bunch of things, how do you sort them out? Lovely concepts to introduce slightly older readers too. And of course, I come to my final set of recommendations, which will set the tone for the conversation that follows subsequently. The reason that we're doing the Buzzaar today, the fabulous Zain and Zoe series of books. And here are a clutch. And, I'm not going to spend so much time talking about them, because Yuti Zaveri, the founder of Curious Concepts, and the co-author of the Zen and Zui books, will be joining us in conversation shortly to talk about these twins. But here are some of the really popular ones. Like I said, no sooner did we bring these books into Funky Rainbow, within a span of 1.5 months, and there were 48 titles that they sent us. They just flew out of our shelves, so much so that we literally had to scramble and write to them and say, send us more books very, very quickly, because we're going to do a bazaar around the very, very popular Zen and Zui books. Montessori schools just grabbing these titles. I'm just going to show you a couple of my favorites, but we can certainly chat in greater detail once Yuti joins us on the show. There's Seasons with Zen and Zoe, about the different seasons: summer, monsoon, winter, spring, autumn. I love the book on reduce, reuse, recycle, so relevant to our times. And you can see the clear illustrations. David, I know you mentioned this, when we started off the conversation, that it's so important to have crystal clear illustrations that sort of engage the youngest readers who are curious to know a little bit more about their world. And we've had many Montessori schools and teachers tell us how clearly these books are illustrated in order to explain the concepts that they are, setting out to talk about. And of course, you do these discoveries through this wonderful pair of twins, Zen and Zui. And I love this. I've never been to the African savannas. This one, Zen and Zui visit the African savannas, just made me want to book a ticket and go off to the savannas. But while I get down to doing that, I have a lovely book like this. Even a full, grown up person to, can understand the climate, the landscapes, the biodiversity of the savannas through the Zen and Zui books. And there are wonderful ones in their collection where we discover several other places as well. And Yuti, I'm going to check if she's joined us, Sham. We can quickly say hello to her before we get into conversation.
Hi, good morning.
Hello. Hi, good
Almost good
morning. One
afternoon.
sec. Yes, good morning. So lovely to have you join us here at the Bazaar. Before I introduce you to our audiences, and we have somebody who's joined us from far away in Australia to watch this book on Concept Bazaars. And I don't know where else, people have come in from, Yuti. But, we began by saying that what prompted this bazaar on concept books was simply the fact that for a small independent bookstore like Funky Rainbow to receive 48 books, multiple copies of 48 books, and to just sell them out in a 1.5 months was like, we were like, wow, we need to look at these books with new eyes. So many, many congratulations to you and your team for putting together these fantastic books.
Thank you.
We're going to send you an invitation to Instagram just now. So if you can accept, I'll introduce you and start off on the conversation. Have you sent out an invitation? Yeah, Zen and Zui official.
Oh, I'm on the wrong account. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Do you want us to
I'm,
send an invitation?
no, I'm ready. Yes, please send the invitation. Got it. And
Have you sent an invitation? Yeah, it's gone to you. Okay, super, super. We're live on Instagram as well. Nalini Sorensen, what a delight to see you at the show today. She's one of our favorite writers, Yuti, and she's based in your city. She's in Bombay, doing some wonderful chapter books and picture books for our youngest readers. Nalini, we're delighted that you've joined us after ages. A big hello out to you as well. It has literally been ages. But for everyone else who's watching, I'm going to introduce you to Yuti Zaveri, and we're going to talk about the incredible things she's done in the course of her career trajectory. When we, are in conversation with her, she has a degree in biomedical engineering. Who'd ever think that somebody who did biomedical engineering would be publishing books, but publishing always welcoming of many, many people in this space. And we're delighted that you've taken the plunge into this world, Yuti. So she has a degree in biomedical engineering from Vanderbilt University and a master's from Northwestern University. She worked as a healthcare research consultant in the initial years of her career, and then made a plunge into the world of finance. And we're going to try and understand, why you did that. And I understand that finance is really important in anything and everything we do. Often people in the children's literature space just forget it. And I'm very delighted that you have kept and brought all that wisdom to your publishing as well. So she did work in advising people about their investments and portfolios for many years. And then, when she became a mother, she decided that she needed to bring these skills, the engineering skills and financial skills, to put together a wonderful, set of books. And of course, the origin of that was a club that she started off called the Curiosity Club in 2000. When did you begin it? Not 2018. I think a little bit before 2018, isn't it, Yuti?
yeah, 2017. 2016, 17, after my daughter was about a year and a half.
Okay, okay. So she began that, and she felt that these concepts were best told through stories. And we are going to find out how she's brought all her educational experience into these wonderful books and created these marvelous twins, Zen and Zoe, who go about exploring their world in such delightful ways. Small confession before we begin. I couldn't get my head out of the Chocolate Factory book.
Ah,
Obviously, I love chocolates myself, and was just delighted to read those ones. I can see so many friends joining in. Archana Atri, who runs a wonderful book club called Archana Atri's Book Nerds in Delhi, joining us at the show. Arunji saying good morning. We missed you for the first part of the show, Arun, but we're delighted. He's a librarian in a school in Hyderabad who's joining us, and we're so glad all of you are watching us in the course of having a conversation with Yuti Zaveri, whose excellent concept books are the best way, I think, to get young readers reading eagerly and happily. So tell us, Yuti, tell us about the Zen and Zoe books, about your publishing vision, and why did you feel the need to create books that focus on exploring this wonderful world that we all live in?
so, I'll go back to Curiosity Club, and why I started that as well is growing up, I think we had a lot of gender stereotypes, and science was looked at as such a boyish subject. And you were still, there were fewer women going into science and engineering. And so my idea was always to break that at an early age, because I think the reason that happens is because kids, if you don't like anything when you're small and when you're learning, it stays with you for life. So I think
Ah,
making science interesting, making STEM interesting for children at an early age, was what I started out with. Curiosity Club was all about that, is making STEM fun. And so, they say that when you learn with your hands, there are more nerves that are connected to your hands than anything else. So that was our idea there as well. So in
ah,
fact, when I started Zain and Zoe as well, we were still focused on STEM. So if you look at the
okay.
initial books, we had life
Mhm.
cycle, and we had a lot more sciencey topics. There are a couple of
Okay.
books that we haven't printed again after the first run. They weren't as I guess popular, but they were a lot more STEM related. And then we realized, they were like, why restrict ourselves to STEM? Learning is learning, and let's learn about everything around us.
That is just utterly lovely. In fact, I love that part that you brought in about the gender stereotyping, because my next question was going to be to ask you about how the names Zen and Zoe came about to be. And I love the fact that the twins' mother is a pilot who's traveling all over the world. The father is a photographer who's exploring unknown places in the known and unknown places in the world. And that makes it absolutely possible for the twins to travel with their parents. But there's a little bit of the breaking of the gender stereotypes right there in Zen and Zoe's family too, isn't it?
Yes, yes, that was the idea. Is that
Excuse me.
we didn't want it to be a boy-led book, because we wanted a boy and a girl. They're equal, which is why we
Okay.
have twins. And again, we didn't want a typical family setup where you have the mother at home and the father is working. And we wanted both parents working, both parents out, and they're still an amazing family, and the kids are still learning so much.
So how did the names come about to
Yeah,
be?
so
How did
the
the
name,
names?
there was a girl in my building, and her name was Zoe, and I just loved the name, and she was this cute little girl. So it started with Zoe, and I liked the name. And then we just wanted a name, another name with Zayn, and Zayn happened. And Zayn is actually my sister's dog's name. Um,
Oh.
so she had the name picked out for her dog before Zayn and Zoe. But yeah, I sort of stole that idea a little.
So there's a real Zen doggy somewhere and a little Zoe,
Yeah, and
maybe not so little now.
you mentioned that there's someone from Australia who's joined in. We have
Yes.
someone from Australia who bought the books because her grandchildren were Zain and Zoe.
Oh, it's a wonderful coincidence. And, see, that's the beauty of these serendipitous things that books make possible. In fact, right through the bazaar today, we were sort of recommending books that, that spark serendipitous discoveries. I mean, it's not that that learning is the goal of the book, but when we read them with children, we
Yes,
see, what a magical way in which some of those connections really happen, right?
right, right.
So, I mean, this is and imagine, somebody from Australia picking up the book because they have grandchildren called Zen and Zoe. And of course, at the moment, we have somebody from Australia watching our show, really, right? So tell us a bit, about your exciting career trajectory, Yuti. Like I said, a degree in biomedical engineering, then, working as a healthcare research consultant, and then, skyrocketing into the world of finances and helping people manage their investments and portfolios. And then, of course, bringing all that experience into, let's say, making learning more fun for children, really, right? So tell us a bit about that.
Sure. So of course, I started in healthcare because of my educational background, and I originally wanted to become a doctor, but
Ah.
then I became an engineer instead. And I then moved into, so finance is in my blood, if you will. And my grandfather was in the stock market. My father is in the stock market. My parents are both chartered accountants. So I just have numbers and money all around me. Uh, and so that sort of got me back to the family, and because I moved back to India, and to
Okay.
manage what my father had started and build on that is how I got into finance. And so I trained and I worked, and I still do that on the side because, like you said, that's something that you can't let go of no matter what you do. Is eventually it's all about managing the money that you have or you earn, and investing and saving and all of that. So that's ongoing always.
And also, like, the money to fund passion projects, like, right? It's really
Yes,
important to get them. I mean, they can't remain passion projects forever. If passion can continue to drive them forever, but they also have to
right.
kind of, stand on their own feet, really, right? So go ahead.
So I've
Yeah.
always wanted to, teaching was something I've done even as a volunteer all through college. Is all the volunteer work I did outside of school time was with various teaching projects. Um, so I think that also just came about very naturally to me and something I enjoyed doing, and which is why I started Curiosity Club. And Zayn and Zoe just happened by chance. It was so unintentional, what I was telling you earlier. It
Right.
We were looking to make animated characters because we wanted to standardize our curriculum delivery. And so
Hmm.
we created these characters and we created videos as well. But there were some topics that we just weren't able to put into videos. So we said, okay, let's write books around it and we can use the same characters and we'll use the books. And we wanted stories. Now, why stories? Is because we found when we're trying to teach children something, if you put it into a story context, they will remember the context because they will remember the story. And that's how they won't forget the concept. So we wanted to put it into stories and characters only because, kids get attached to characters, and they can relate to other children who are learning, right? They're curious, they ask questions just like Zain and Zoe do. Um, and the books became so popular, we actually shelved the animated videos because they didn't turn
Oh.
out as good. The books turned out even better.
So
And
you mean to say that the club was started and the books were not part of the plan at all when the clubs
never,
were happening?
never,
Oh.
never, never part of the plan. In fact, a little secret, if you go and ask my parents, there everyone around me is a little shocked that I ended up writing books. I had to be forced to write essays in school, and threatened by my parents is, please practice essay writing, um, please read books. I'm not a big reader either. I was never a reader, so yeah, it's very different from where I was. But I think because I didn't, I still enjoy learning, right? So when it comes in stories, I think I'm able to at least bring that out differently for children today who want to learn.
Ah, and also, I think the best thing about life is how the perfectly made plans come undone. You have a plan, you're making something, and then suddenly, there are detours and wonderful detours that come along the way, and you're able to get on that road. I see Preeti Menon joining us. She's a wonderful teacher of English at an international school in Bangalore, and the author of a lovely new book called When Jungles Whisper, where she's introducing readers to the different animals and jungles in India.
Oh
And
wow!
she says absolutely storytelling is one of the most effective ways to help
Yes.
children remember concepts. In fact, she was on our show a couple of weeks ago, to talk about her new book. And she says she begins her class always by telling children to look outside the window, really. Right? So
Amazing. Yeah.
no, so that it's lovely to know that, but one of the things that I wanted to ask you as part of that question itself is, do you think you've applied any of that engineering learning and financial learning into the kind of into creating these books? I mean, into sort of, is there a particular science that you apply when you're writing and creating the Zen and Zoe books, and has that been influenced by your education in any way?
No, so like I said, the only thing that influenced it was my love for STEM,
Ah,
and which is why everything STEM related. But finance, of course, helps you everywhere because I mean, I think it's there are two sides to the coin. It's easier being on the other side where I'm giving advice to other people on what to do, and it's much harder now being where I am, where I have to figure out, and I need someone to keep telling me what to do, and or to follow my own advice.
yes.
So yeah, it does help because I know what an investor is looking for instance. um I know how to make projections, to make plans, because I've done all of that. So I think that management skill does help run the business better.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Well, Archana is saying you're not a reader or a writer, but encouraging reading and writing well,
Thank
isn't that
you.
fab? I know, Arun, who's watching, has often asked, many people who run independent ventures
Yeah.
how they manage to bring a measure of success into it. And, I know that that's a question that many people ask. And I'm glad that you say that you're applying some of your own financial advice into your own projects. But tell us, moving on to the Zen and Zoe books, like concept books like the Zen and Zoe ones clearly adopt a fun while you learn approach. Why do you think introducing concepts through stories is the best way to learn them? And it would be nice if you sort of told us about a couple of your books in the context of this response, really,
Sure.
right?
So, I'm going to talk about this book, which I really enjoyed writing, The Solar System.
Yes, you can see it's right up on our,
It's a very popular book as well. And what we did in this book is we had the kids, you know, build this little. They built the entire solar system around the fire. And so,
uh-huh.
what the child is going to remember when they read the book is the whole process of how they built this. Why, which fruit did they put for Mars, or which object did they put for Venus, and that's how they're going to associate the size of the planet as well with the object that they put.
Ah.
So rather than just talking about here are the planets, and you memorize the names of the planets, they're through the story with Zayn and Zoe, they've learned a lot of other aspects of the planets as well. So they put a red object because red represents Mars. Yes, Zayn and Zoe.
I'm showing it out. Don't worry. Don't worry. Go ahead.
And
Yeah.
this was also one of our toughest books to illustrate because we had so much information. Each
Ah.
image had so much of content. But the other thing we do is, we avoid putting a lot of factual information into stories because we want the story to read very smoothly. So this is something, we changed when my co-author Twisha came on board, and this was her idea, and it was brilliant. Is that, let's just remove all these facts and let the story read just smoothly. And there's always these lovely fun facts that children can keep going back to, and refer to and learn about.
Yeah.
Even so, this was another book. The other one we enjoyed was also honeybees.
Honeybees,
We learned
yeah.
about these, fun things about. It was Why did they learn about bees? Is because Zane got stung by a bee, and how he moved on from getting stung to being okay around bees. Yes, here are some more pictures inside. Yeah,
When they are in a farm in this book, isn't it? They
yes,
are Zen and
they are
Zooey are at their
grandma's farm.
grandmother's farm, I think, really,
Yes,
right? And
yes,
stung by a honeybee. That's an experience that many kids can connect with. I mean, I can
right.
connect with it definitely.
Even the insects book, I don't have it with me to show, but again, they're on a trek, they're in the outdoors. Again, something, my husband and I are very passionate about is outdoors. So we like them to be outside. So we set the insects book on a trek. That's something I do a lot with my children. My 7-year-old and even my 2-year-old treks with us.
Oh, that's
Um,
nice.
and of course, and I've seen them, they love exploring things outside in nature. They're picking up stones and trying to pick up leaves and sticks. And that, again, it's all real life experiences that I think children can relate to, and they will remember the story, which is why. So I think the concepts and the learning bit is all secondary. It's all about the story, and the rest just happens.
Absolutely. And we found that when we were at a Montessori school last Sunday, the parents coming and asking specifically, I mean, you have certain books that are life cycle of the frog, life cycle of a hen, and I mean different ones like that. Then you have this, let's visit the savannas, let's visit the polar regions, and let's go to the rainforests.
Yes.
Yeah, we have those. In fact, our display today is just all the Zen and Zoe books only, like, right? And parents specifically asking for these, sets of books that I think they feel. I remember one dad coming and asking me, that they were going to travel on a vacation, and if they were going to go to a snowy place, and he wanted his child to experience the feeling of, I mean, of what snow is like through your polar regions book. Basically, I can see David saying, it's true that we are hardwired to take in stories. The winner of a memory contest, in having to memorize 100-digit number, turned each digit into a character and made a story out of it. How very
Wow.
amazing. Yeah. And he says, of course, the solar system book looks amazing, because when we started out the show, he did say that he still remembers, his solar system books when he was a child. Obviously, these ones, staying with you for life. You also, I mean, so like I said, there are 48 books, which are, some of them are these picture books, like this format kind of
Yes.
picture books. But you also have board books, right?
Yes, we do.
You and some games as well. I mean, tell us about one or two of the books, of the board books and the games.
Yes. So the board books, we had a lot of interest from. We've been now, all the new books we've been doing. A lot of them have been on feedback from parents and the types of books that they want. So the board books, yes, the board book set picture that's up. This is one of the books. We did these as very simple books and simple concepts that a child can learn. And instead of just showing pictures of vehicles, we've put them into rhymes and stories. Um, so it's a little more fun to read. So this book was a lot of fun to write. We started with one wheel, and it's a unicycle, two wheels, and then the vehicles with two wheels, and then the third
Okay.
wheel comes in, and then the three-wheel vehicles, and then of course the four, and then we also move into water vehicles, and then in yes, yes, and then air. So the board books, we have 5 board books now, and
Right.
these are for your little toddlers, and I think even up to the age of 3, they're just lovely to read about.
That's right. Yeah,
Um,
we had,
we love the
that.
rhymes.
No, so go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. Hmm.
We love the rhymes and the way we've been able to put it together in a fun way again instead of just pictures.
Ah. And you do some games as well. We know we got the Dino Trail game, into, and we don't really have, that many games at Funky Rainbow. We
Yes,
limit ourselves to a few ones, but the Dino ones just stomped off our shelves almost instantly. So
yes,
are they all sort of interconnected? I mean, I know you have a picture book on dinosaurs, an activity book on dinosaurs, and then this game on dinosaurs. Is there some sort of connection between these? Books and games.
yes. So the idea was dinosaurs is of course something fun and kids just love it. But the other two that we have, the other three, community helpers, vehicles, seasons, and five senses, they're all related to the books, the games. So it's an extension of the book and it's an extension learning activity. Again, making it fun, fun way to learn the same concept.
Ah.
There are also activity books, which also take. So we have seasons, we have vehicles, and we have the dinosaur one. Yes, the
I know.
transport one. Correct. So these again, it's all related to the books and just an extension of taking your reading to the next step. All our storybooks also have an activity at the end, and
That's
a
right.
lot of people have given us feedback that they love these activities that the books come with because it's a great extension to continue the book when when you're done with the story, which is how we started making some activity books as well.
Ah, that's really nice. Of course, I know, Zen and Zoe themselves tell us that there are some new books in the pipeline. Would you like to tell us about? I know you're terribly excited about them. So do tell us about the new ones that are expected very, very soon.
Yes, very, very excited because this is again one more that came through reader feedback. Is that please give us something on India? There isn't too much out there for this age group. For ours, which is the typically the 4 to 8 age group, there isn't anything much in India. And we never, if you've noticed, Zain and Zoe don't have a home. We don't have a location that they live in. We've tried to keep it as neutral as we could for throughout, globally neutral, if you will. So this is the first time we are now in our country, and we wanted to start with India. So we have a set of 6 books on India,
Oh,
and
lovely.
each book, unlike all our earlier books, each book has 3 stories. So it's actually 18 stories about India. We have festivals, we have art and culture, in which we're talking about dances, um, tribes of India, and a wedding. Again, because India is so much about big fat weddings.
Yes, of course.
We also history. We picked 3 historical events. One, of course,
Period.
independence. We've talked about Ashoka's empire and the Vijayanagar empire.
All right.
Another festival book,
Uh-huh.
monuments, and then we've also talked about geography. So we have a book on landscape. So we talk about the mountains, the rivers, and the deserts of India.
Ah.
So we tried to cover as much as we could about India through some stories.
That's it. Always. So there's two sets of such books, right? You've got
There was
two
it's
that
going to be
take
two
you.
volumes, so 3 books in each set, and it's
That's
releasing on the 7th of October.
lovely. We will be waiting for those ones to come into our shelves. We focus almost entirely on Indian children's books, and
Yes,
they. I mean, enough books can't be written about India, really. So the more there are to encompass our fascinating diversity, the
yes.
better it is for us. I know we're almost running out of time, but most people watching, I mean, are adults and parents, teachers, librarians, aunts and uncles. What would you like to tell them about why concept books like the Zen and Zui ones are really important in shaping a child's early reading experiences?
I think as important as fiction books are, it's also important to just learn about things around you, to learn concepts and learn how things work and to explore the world. And kids are curious about it. um, and I think books are a lovely way to learn, and I try to keep my children away from the screen And of course, the screen has so much to offer. But when you're learning about factual information through books, there is that bit of imagination that can come in as well, right? You're just seeing a picture of Taj Mahal and you are seeing the description that's written there, and there's another picture that you're creating in your mind. So I think it's in today's time, especially in the screen age, it's even more important to have some good content for children, good non-fiction content for children,
Correct.
um, to keep them between the pages of paper, not, and to take them away from the screen. So a lot of people even asked us, is why aren't we doing ebooks? Again, I don't think that's something I don't want to encourage. So something, of course, we have come up with ebooks because it makes it easier to share it with people across the world. But it's something that I still don't advocate. So I want to stay away from it. And I would not want children to be reading an ebook. I'd rather them pick up a hard copy and read paper.
Ah. Absolutely. I mean, couldn't be more important in today's world too. I mean, I think when you make your first, discoveries through books, then you're a happy and eager reader for life. And, even if you looked at books on screen going forward, right, you're still going to be happiest with your nose between the pages of a
Yes.
book. Preeti Menon saying, "This is so exciting. I would love to read the books." Preeti, all of them up on Funky Rainbow's website, www.funkyrainbow.com. There's a 48 titles, from them, some board books, some picture books, some games. And, once the new ones are released, certainly those will come onto our shelves as well. And there are some packages too, like the books on the continents is an entire set of books that are available as one sort of box set, basically. So lovely. Thank you for joining us. More power to your publishing, Yuti. I can see Arun saying, "I'm really looking forward to reading these books." All up on Funky Rainbow's website. So do check them out and do consider picking them up for your reading requirements if you feel the children in your lives, and even the adults in your lives, will enjoy these books.
Yeah, we learned a lot when we were writing them. So I think I think we all have scope to learn.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. We are absolutely delighted that you were able to talk with us on the Zen and talk to us about the Zen and Zoe concept books.
Thank you, Vidya. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, everyone who's here. And thank you all for the love that you've all shown to Zain and Zoe.
Thank you. And I'm going to say hello to all our viewers who joined in. Thank you so much for being with us here week after week after week. It really makes a big difference. And we're hoping we'll find newer and newer kinds of books to introduce to our audiences. Swap Chat, Reading Stars India, Ponderous, My Little Book Basket, David Williams, Mayday Bookstore, Sanjana Chabria, Nagraj Rao, Sujita Krishnamurti. How lovely that you were watching us today. We really wish you would be here at Funky Rainbow, but we understand that there's lots of exciting things happening in life at the moment, and you'd much rather be with your husband and, enjoy all the fun that you guys are having. Twishas, Sanjana, Preeti Menon, Khushbu Sa, Rachana, Nupure, Renu, Tanvi Simit, Srilata Rao, Priya Mahilan, Sumcha, the Owl Mama, Nalini Sorensen, Suganya, uh, Seven Sana and Gulatika, The Sensitive, Sushmita, Isha Pandya, Word Snappage, Baby Ashi, My Naughty Brats, A Little Piece of Me, Sri Lakshmi, Shiny, Archana Atri, Arunji, Ashwini, Princess Anaya, Kindersaurus, Cincy Jinu, Bijal, Ridhio, Ridhiom Ray, Sanjay Thapa, Gayatri, Shiksha Sethi, and Hashmi. Thank you so much for joining us. All the books, the Zen and Zui books, and all the wonderful concept books, many of which we have recommended through the show today. available on www.funkyrainbow.com. Click on the tab that says Book Bazaar, various seasons, various themes for you to choose from. But these ones are called concept books, and all the Zen and Zui ones in them. We'll see you next week with another bazaar. The only concept that matters at Funky Rainbow is reading. Reading is the concept, folks. Make your children read, read, and read. Encourage them, and give them exactly the books that they want and they enjoy. That is absolutely the concept that we promote. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Archana and Arun and everybody for joining us today. We'll see you next week with another bazaar and another collection of books. Bye bye.